In this video, I will explain to you my process from recording video game footage to uploading them to YouTube. Here's how to configure Shadowplay. You need to access the Shadowplay control panel by clicking the Shadowplay button on the upper right part of GeForce Experience. And then you turn it on by clicking the left switch. After that, you will select the mode, which is Shadow and Manual. After that, you will select the length of your shadow record. For the quality, it depends on your setup. Most of you will simply select 1080p and be set. For others who play in windowed mode or have uncommon resolutions, say 1200p or 768p, you will have to choose in-game. The frame per second is up to you. Know that 60 FPS allows you to easily create smoother slow motion videos. For the bitrate, it's mostly a question of hardware. If you have a single hard drive, a too high bitrate will make you lag in game. If you have two hard drive, not two partition, make sure you record on the one that doesn't have your game installed. If you have an SSD, just set it to something higher than 30 megabits. I personally use 50 megabits because it's higher than what I need and allows me some leverage later in my process. The audio option allows you to record the default audio of your Windows setup, or you can also record your microphone and the default audio of your setup, or you can choose to record nothing. We then need to set up Shadowplay in the Preference tab. There you can add a webcam to your footage, a status indicator that will not be recorded but tells you if you're recording. I highly recommend to turn that one on since you could easily fill up your hard drive if you forget it's on. If you want an FPS counter, you can turn it on here, but it will be added to your footage, and I prefer the Steam counter. The most important option if you play in windowed mode, allow desktop capture. It will record your screen permanently even if you're not gaming. Then you have to set up two keyboard shortcuts for shadow record and manual record. And finally, we need to specify where to put the recordings. I recommend you choose two separate hard drives to lower the read and write request if you save your shadow footage and then start manual recording at the same time. AVID Mux is the perfect tool to quickly edit and cut your Shadowplay footage. Open your footage, navigate through the clip and create a selection with the A and E button. Then you can simply delete that selection or save it as a completely different new clip. Just make sure you select MP4 Muxer and leave the other option at copy. Here's a tip to improve your Sony Vegas edit. On every clip used, you need to manually disable the Smart Resample option in switches. This option is on by default and needs to be turned off. The only time I would recommend leaving it on is if you're doing a slow motion effect with footage that is less than 24 frames per second. So if your footage is at 60 FPS, you still leave it off until you slow down your footage by more than 50%. What it does is create an in-between frames which create a weird blurs in your video. Try it and you'll see the difference. Once your edit is done, you need to render it at an high bitrate so you don't lose quality in your next step. I use Main Concept AVC and the preset Internet HD 1080p as your base. You then click Customize Template to change the setting furthermore. Manually change the frame rate to match your footage. Have the reference frame at 2, set the bitrate at 50 megabytes maximum and at least 28 on average. If you have an NVIDIA, choose CUDA. If you have an AMD, choose OpenCL. Then select an high audio bitrate and select the best rendering quality. You can save the preset for later use. And even put them in your favorite for easy access. After you rendered your video, you end up with a huge file that would take forever to upload on YouTube and process as well. The trick is to give YouTube a video with proper encoding, and then break is the easiest, fastest option for this. Simply load your final cut that you've rendered. Select a destination and a name for the output file. Click the preset you've downloaded from my description below. You can even queue multiple clips. This setting will compress your video to YouTube's recommended bitrate of 16 megabits per second with barely any loss. I do it this way because all the editing renderer fails to give me proper quality at this bitrate. On the plus side, YouTube liked this setting a lot and process them quicker than any other preset I've tried. It is really worth the time of rendering your clip twice. I hope you enjoyed the tips I gave you in this video, and if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments so I can reply them easily. I might go more in deep in video editing in later videos, but right now I'm too busy gaming.